Well, let's spend a little more time on the politics of Ontario and how that might relate to the federal election. Ontario Premier Doug Ford is under fire from his opponents who claim that he's adjourning the Ontario legislature until after the federal election in an effort to help Andrew Scheer form the next federal government. As we've seen in the Angus Reid survey, Doug Ford's popularity is dropping. Another poll out today by Corbett Communications for the Toronto Star finds that 54% of survey respondents say the actions of the Ontario government could affect how they vote federally. So does that have anything to do with Premier Ford's decision this week to adjourn the legislature until October 28th? And that's 1 week after the federal election. Let's bring in Laura Stone, Queen's Park reporter for the Globe and Mail. Laura Stone, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Martin.
Well, okay, so let's tell us about this adjournment decision by Doug Ford. What has he decided and how is he justifying it?
Well, it was a bit of a surprise, to be honest. This was announced on the last day of the legislature breaking for summer. Premier Doug Ford's government announced that they would not be returning until October 28th, which is, of course, 1 week after the next federal election. The way they're justifying it is talking about the pace that the government has taken so far, which has been very fast. And they've passed a lot of bills, they say. They've kept a lot of their promises. And so they say they now need to recalibrate and regroup and go back to their constituencies. It's been a long year by all accounts. And so they're saying that they need to go back and reset a little bit. Of course, the opposition jumped all over this, saying that Premier Doug Ford wants to go campaign for Andrew Scheer, or Andrew Scheer has told him, in the words of Andrea Horwath, to go hide under a rock. So, you cannot ignore that the kind of the glaring date here, which is 1 week after the next federal election, is when the House is going to return.
Yeah, I mean, just to put it in perspective, how much longer is this normally than the Ontario legislature? How much is it? 144 days? Is that a lot longer than what the Ontario legislature would normally be out?
I don't know if it's unprecedented, and we've had prorogations, for instance, under the previous Liberal government, but that was leading up to an election, for instance. Mm-hmm. It is longer than usual. They would normally come back in September at some point. It's my first time here in covering Ontario politics, but everyone is talking about the fact that this is longer than usual. The end of October does seem quite lengthy for a summer adjournment.
So what is Premier Ford and his people, and what are Andrew Scheer saying about these accusations that he's been told, as you said, to lie low to help Andrew Scheer's prospects?
Well, they're both sides are saying that this is Premier Doug Ford's decision, that his team came to this decision, his cabinet and his senior officials were the ones that made the decision. And Premier Doug Ford was asked about this at his press conference today, if he is going to campaign for Andrew Scheer or if he has been told to stay away. And his answer to both of those questions was no. I've said that I'm not going to play a role in this campaign, and I'm going to focus on what's happening in Ontario. I don't think you can ignore the polls. And I don't think you can ignore, though, the way that the federal Liberals are attacking Premier Ford at every turn and trying to link him to Andrew Scheer. And we've heard from some Conservative MPs, for instance, that they are hearing questions and concerns about Premier Ford, including the pace that the government has taken, as well as some of the changes that they've undertaken that they've had to backtrack from, such as their autism program and some of those municipal funding cuts that there was a lot of backlash against here in Toronto.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So your sources or people in Conservative circles are saying, though, for those who are, for example, both federal and provincial Conservatives, are saying that they're concerned about the possible backlash from Mr. Ford, Premier Ford's unpopularity on Andrew Scheer?
They're concerned that Ford is playing too large of a role in a campaign that he is not part of. And I think both sides will admit to that. Now, we don't have either of these of the offices on the record saying this, but we do have federal MPs such as Erin O'Toole and Lisa Raitt who have gone on the record, who are talking about, yes, in their suburban Toronto communities, they are hearing about Doug Ford and his government, but they're also saying that they're using that as kind of a cautionary tale to people, saying he's cleaning up 15 years of provincial Liberal government, and we don't want that to continue here federally. So they're trying to twist and use Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's attacks against him. But we know that this is coming up
Okay. So in all, though, you do get the sense that there is a strategic decision somewhere that it might be better to not have Doug Ford's government in active sitting while Andrew Scheer is campaigning on the federal level.
I do think that both sides have, come to the understanding that it would be better for him to just to not be sitting. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that Doug Ford isn't going to be out there governing just because the House isn't sitting. Maybe they won't be introducing bills. They won't be facing tough questions and questions period. They won't be facing the scrums from reporters. It's not like he's going to be quiet. He's not that kind of leader. So they will be wanting to show that they're not just sitting around for the summer. They're not saying that this is a break. So I think that, for better or for worse, for Andrew Scheer, Premier Ford will be around still over the course of this federal campaign.
Okay, well, Laura Stone of the Globe and Mail, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you so much.